looked at for this is a, well, it says right here, it's Open Produce on the south side of Chicago. It's a late night shop for staple grocery items. It's a tiny little store. We have lots of stores like this in New York too. You'll recognize it in a minute. So this is a picture from inside the store. You've seen places like this. And this is the current owner, Stephen Lucy, a friend of mine. And he and my brother started this store several years ago, and they're programmers. So they wrote their own point-of-sale software, which they use to collect lots of data about what they're doing. So when we had this visualization project, I asked them if I could use some of their data, and he said yes. So hi, Stephen. Okay, so tabs. For those of you who don't know, a tab is a very old retail concept, and basically the idea is, like, let's say Sung were to come into my store, he wants to buy an apple, and he doesn't have the money to pay for the apple. He could just say, look, I'll pay you later for the apple, and I say, no problem. I write down Sung's information, I keep a record, next time Sung comes in, he pays me the $1. That's a tab, okay? So it's basically a flexible loan you can extend to retail customers. So they took information on they took data about their tabs for all their customers, and I wanted this data. So after calls, emails, and some dplyr, I ended up with something like this, which is a very, very simple table. I'm looking at rows 50 through 54 and just going quickly across it. That's the date at which a tab transaction took place. So either Sung is borrowing money from my store or Sung is giving me money for a future transaction. When that occurred, what his ID number is, let's say he's number 4, what his balance was before the transaction, what his balance was after the transaction. Okay, so in the line 1, somebody came in, they had a balance of $157.22, they bought something, they wanted something for $575, and they put that on their tab as well. Okay, that's what the data looks like. Pretty simple considering the data sets we've seen so far. So an overview of the data, I have about 22,000 rows or transactions, covering 475 customers over a 34-month period from November 2009 to September 2012. And the tabs varied. So people went into credit for about $344 at peak, and then went up to debt at about $498. So that was the data I had to work with. So one of the first things I did was I wanted to know, like, what does somebody's debt over time look like? What do these tabs look like for individuals? So here's an example. So I just want to take a minute to talk about the axes here. So what you see here is the time period over which I had data. Okay, that's the whole 34-month period for which I had data. On the y-axis, I just scaled this to what the max and the min tabs were over time. So it goes down to negative 344 and up to about 500. So this customer here, one more thing. The dots are transactions. The lines are what the debt is at any given time. Okay, so when you see a dot, it means something happened. So you notice after a dot, the line is straight. That's because nothing else happens with the tab until the next transaction. So this is a pretty good borrower. I mean, he or she never borrows more than $53 and pays it back pretty quickly. Lots of transactions. So this seems like a pretty reasonable customer to have from a tab point of view, right? Not all the customers were like this. Here's another customer. This, not as many transactions and goes into more debt to the store, over $200 here. But what I wanted to point out about this one was this piece here. And what this is he actually this person actually went from this debt to the store and put several $100s down for credit in the future. Okay, and that's what this represents. So some do that. Here's another one. So this customer went into huge debt. He goes into big debt a lot. He or she, I'm sorry. But has a lot of transactions and always pays it off. It's not really a problem that they're going into debt over a long period of time that they don't pay back. But of course, when you lend money to someone, there is always this danger that you won't get it back. And that's what that looks like. Just borrowed some money and then went to Tahiti or something. So anyway, there are lots of different ways this could go. So I looked at this data, and of course, there are a lot of things I could have measured about it. But what I wanted to know is, was this a good idea to extend this option to customers? Because the way I see it, as somebody who doesn't work in retail, what Open Produce is doing is they're offering multiple, flexible, unpredictable, interest-free loans to a lot of people. And that seems dubiously like a good idea to me. So I wanted to know, is this a good idea for the store? So what I did was I just thought, well, what is the store's total liability at any given point as a result of these tabs? So I plotted that over time. That took some manipulation, as you can imagine. But that's what Open Produce's total tab is at any given time. So if I add up the tab at any given time for all their customers, that's what it looks like. Same period of time on the x-axis, but on the y-axis now it's $0 to $5,000. Okay, so that's at any given time. So for instance, right here, their total expenditure out to tab customers is about $3,000. So that's what it looks like over time. So I thought, okay, well that's a little like just not having a certain amount of money available for 34 months, because at any given time they have a whole bunch of money that they lent to customers that they don't have to use for their operations. So now I wanted to know what's a representative, simple amount of money that I could use to represent that over time. And I'm going to gloss over details, but what I did was I tried to calculate a time-weighted median. I will spare you the code for now, of what is a good representative value for how much money they've got out in any given period. So I ran this algorithm that I generated, and that's what I got. So at any given time, that's a reasonable estimate for this period of time is about $2,900. And the reason I wanted such a coarse, simple estimate was as follows.
Is that the median?
Yeah, so it's a time-weighted median. So I couldn't just, I can revisit that after the talk, but basically I couldn't just take a median or a mean because every balance is active for a certain amount of time. And I'm more interested in the ones that are active for a longer time. So I had to kind of take, I'm going to get back to that. So very roughly, that's an idea of what it costs them over an extended period to have these tabs out. And again, I want to know, is this a good idea for the store to do this? Well, one thing that the store could do is they have loans too, okay? And they could pay down their loans instead of lending it out to customers. So I asked Steven about this, the pictured guy, and he said, yeah, they have a loan right now for about 8% annually, compounded monthly. So if they took that same $2,900 that they're going to have unavailable to them, and instead of lending it to their customers, if they used it to pay down their own debt, over the same 34-month period, they would have saved about $730 of interest. I hope that's clear. If instead of lending this out to their customers, they used it to pay their own debt, that's what they would save over 34 months. Okay? So over that 34-month period, I estimated that's about $21 a month. So if, as a way of benchmarking whether this is a good idea, if they think that by lending out the money, they're getting $22 a month, I say have at it, or at least it's plausible that it's a good idea. If, however, they're not doing that, they might want to revisit it and just pay down their own loan. It's a perspective. I don't think they're... Yeah.
Is that interest saved? Is it per month, or what's the time period for that?
34 months, which is my whole time span. And then broken down by month, it's about that. These are very coarse estimates, as I'm sure you know. So my final thoughts about this, after trying to benchmark whether tabs are a good idea, it really drove home to me the importance of IDing all of your customers if you're a retail operation. Because what I would like to do is I'd like to know, for the people that have tabs and the people that don't have tabs, is there any difference? Do they spend any differently? Or does somebody spend differently before and after they have a tab? That's what you'd want to know. But Open Produce only IDs the customers that have tabs. So I had no control groups to test that. So I mean, I don't have a CVS card or a membership card any place. It's like I don't have a Barnes & Noble card, and I'm not going to get one. But I understand why they want me to do that, because if they don't know what everyone's spending patterns are, it's very hard to know whether a policy is going to be effective. So that's one thing I learned. What I would like to do more of, I mean, what I'm interested in is the defaults, because that's money you just definitively lose. I'm interested in how many people just don't pay the money back, which is always a danger. But that was a weirder question than I wanted to get into, given my data. So that's it. I could take questions.
So this is a very interesting presentation. I would like to see that you have looked at the total revenue, how this loan program affected the revenue, whether, comparing that revenue before this program and after this program, and see how much of a difference does this loan program make?
Well, they had it since they were in operation.
Oh, okay.
So I don't have, that's another control that I don't have. But I would like to see that too, actually. Yeah, Adam.
Yeah, so speaking of that revenue as well,
Yeah.
do they, once you're on tab, do they look at all the transactions that you've incurred? Do they only work off that tab from then on? Or does somebody come in and he has $10 today, he's not going to use the tab, so he's going to be fine, and plus it's a tabs, he doesn't want to pay it down. So is that something that they've also looked into? Because it does do this, I see what he's saying here, like, is it worth it? You can almost look at it from an investment standpoint. They're going in debt for this amount, but they're also making sales. So they need to make sales. Hopefully the sale profit will be more than their default rate, and that was where you can consider, like, they lost this much money, but they made this much profit out of it, and that would somehow assume that would be a worthwhile plan.
So if I understand your question correctly, I would need the data about all of the transactions of the tab customers, regardless of whether they were paying down their tabs or not.
Correct.
Right? And I don't have that. I only have the data for when there were tab transactions.
But that might be something to ask them, like, what is your
If they
general
have.
perception?
You know, they do have more data, actually. They might have that. It's not what I had this time, but actually that's plausible for the future.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that would be a worthwhile question.
Yeah. Chris?
So you showed there's lots of different kinds of customers, just from those few examples you gave us. With the data you already have, would it be possible to retroactively look at a hypothetical situation where if they introduced a tab limit, so let's say, what if we cut off customers at $200, how much would that change the median value? Because, you could have some that have a small amount for long periods of time, or some that have a large amount for short periods of time.
Right.
So it's not clear how much an impact a tab limit would help, but you could maybe, with what you already have, kind of artificially put it in and say, well, your median would only have been this bad if you had had a $200 limit or something.
So two things. First of all, the reason it's capped out at about 500 is that's their current operating limit.
So you have,
but I think it is plausible to do exactly what you're saying with no additional data.
Yeah, you could just artificially put it on and see how it would change that value.
Yeah. That's a good idea. I don't know, because it could be, what you're saying, right, it could be that would drop their total liability a lot with very little change in it.
But it depends on the distribution of those customers. How many of the
Which is
long
why you
flat
have to
ones
do
you
it.
have, and how many of the pointy ones you have.
Yeah, I don't think I would need any additional data for that. It's an idea.
Maybe your friends would be interested in that.
Free labor.
Yeah.
Chris, do I keep taking questions? You're going to cut this off? Okay.
Sorry?
You're going to cut off the time, right? I'm not managing. Okay.
I just wanted to know if you can compare customers who have taken loans versus those who haven't taken loans and see if you can compare the sales.
I would have loved to do that, but Open Produce doesn't track customer IDs for anyone who doesn't have a tab. So if you just come in and buy something and you never borrow money, they don't record who you are. So I don't have a control group, but I would love, that's the natural thing to look at. Yeah, I would love to see that. Yeah, Thomas.
Does anyone use this method, or was it more popular back when there were companies still were small households?
Yeah, I asked about that because I don't know stores around me that do this, and they said basically, Steven said this was common for a long time, but basically retailers have outsourced this function to banks. So Macy's used to do this for you, but now you have a Macy's card where they functionally just said you deal with the finances with them. But Steven told me a lot of places still do this. I don't know them. I don't have them near me.
It happens in business all the time. On the customer side, this is cool, sort of, right? I mean, it is serving certain community and it is increasing the sales and just question of
Right. That's the question, is it increasing sales?
Kind of thing, because on the business side, there's a credit limit. Every customer has a credit limit.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever your credit limit is, you don't go beyond it. So that's one more variable they add, depending upon your credit capability, so to say, and that may change over a period of time.
It's like buying on layaway, which is coming back even at the big retailers for sure. It's becoming more and more of a phenomenon. I guess my reaction is that at a gut level, which is I know not why we're here, but I mean, it's worth raising maybe because the gut level stuff shouldn't be ignored by all of us. At $700, if that's the cost of funds to them over the course of a 34-month period, to have happy customers who are walking out, undoubtedly buying more than they otherwise would have, it's hard to imagine an analysis that will come out saying they shouldn't do this.
You know what's funny? I was trying to be disciplined and not say that, but I had the same gut reaction. I was like, $21 a month. I mean,
Right.
what is that? That's one trip from one person that cancels that. So I mean, it was actually a pretty positive, on a gut level, pretty positive review of the policy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had the same reaction.
Yeah, but at this time you can't really measure the impact of this loan, right? Whether it's increasing
revenue or whether it's, doing.
You can say, would they have had $700 less than what they got over that 34-month period had they not had this in
Yeah,
place?
it's
The answer
and
almost
both cases
undoubtedly
the
is.
damage,
Yeah, of
but it
course.
could be positive.
Yeah. No, I can't say.
But it's just that you don't have that data.
No,
You
and
can't
that's
say that, right?
that's
He has
why I
one side
didn't.
limit, that's his-
That's why I didn't, because I can't say that definitively.
Did you get a sense from your friend?
Yeah.
Basically, just like anecdotally, whether he thinks customers would stop shopping there if they did away with this?
I didn't. I never asked him that directly.
I'm
I probably should
What we're
have.
saying is basically that the data's not there and you can't really put a number to it,
But it would be good to get his, especially his
Yeah.
work to register when the store started. He knows.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could just ask him.
Yeah, and it's a local store with a goodwill factor that's
Yeah.
associated
Yes,
with it, that's hard to
definitely.
quantify. So
That's what I think.
Would I
it is.
quantify it more than $700 just that alone? If it was all lost, I'd still say it's worth more than $700.
That's my gut too.
One simple thing they can do immediately is there is a notion of cash customer.
Mm.
Record everything in the cash customer and don't worry about it. That's what a lot of the people do. It's a cash customer. I'm not tracking my customer, but I know the total volume, so to say that.
I don't understand the cash customer concept, but I'm sure there's.
You have got tab customers, right?
Yes.
Then you've got cash customers.
Oh, just the ones that don't have tabs.
Right.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that I get.